What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Today, I'm gonna walk you through essentially how I was able to lose 90 pounds and keep it off. So for starters, when I was growing up, I started gaining weight around 9 or 10 years old. And right off the bat, I knew I didn't like it. I felt uncomfortable in my body. I was kind of like, what is this? I don't really like this. But that sort of persisted through my teenage years into high school and stuff, where I would just sort of gradually gain more and more weight, and I didn't really know what to do about it. I spent a lot of time doing so much cardio, running, doing HIIT workouts. I would, starve myself here and there, like not eat breakfast or not eat lunch at school or whatever it was. And sure enough, as the years went on, I realized that none of those things were really working. I was never really able to lose weight, no matter how much I would run or do cardio. And when I would, starve myself and try to not eat as much, that wouldn't really work too. And so as time went on, I wasn't losing weight, and I didn't really know what to do about it. I saw the number on the scale kept going up and up, and was kind of at a loss. The biggest number I ever saw on the scale was 240. I got up to 240 pounds, and my transformation, by the way, is on my website, laneNelsonFitness.com. You can check it out. I got a little bit of my story, pictures, all that stuff. So 240 was the biggest I saw on the scale, and then the lowest I saw on the scale was 148. So that's about 92 pounds that I was able to lose and then keep it off since then. Since I saw that 148, I was able to gain a little controlled weight back up to around 165, 170, which is about where I'm at now. And I've been able to pretty easily maintain that. So I'm gonna walk you through again, essentially the things that I did that allowed me to lose that much weight, and better yet, maintain where I'm at now. So one of the first things is, as I mentioned, I was doing a lot of cardio back in the day, right? Now, cardio is great. Cardio is great for improving heart health, improving performance, improving, your cardiovascular, respiratory system, all that stuff, right? So I'm not throwing any shade on cardio. But in terms of weight loss, in terms of fat loss, spending a ton of time doing cardio isn't really gonna get you anywhere. And I learned that, I experienced this. And the reason why is because in terms of energy expenditure, like how much energy our body burns doing, various activities, for the average sedentary person, especially someone like me, someone who's looking to lose weight, adding cardio in really isn't gonna burn a whole lot of calories. It doesn't burn as much as you think it does. It's not gonna burn as much as you feel like it is, when you're feeling the burn and you're sweating, which of course I thought that was the key. I thought the more I was feeling the burn and sweating, the better it was. Turns out it's not how you lose weight. It's not the best formula for weight loss. And I learned that, right? So one of the first things I did, on top of doing all my cardio, right? I reduced my cardio a little bit. I was still doing some, but I started lifting weights. That was one of the first biggest things that I did that really started to set my weight loss on a good track. So I started lifting weights. I got on a lifting routine. I was educated myself. I learned all about, what exercises to do to hit what muscle groups and, everything like that. So got myself on a lifting routine, and I started to see my results improved, like a lot. And one of the reasons why is because lifting weights it's so beneficial. It's beneficial for so many reasons, bone health and strength and posture and all this stuff. But it also helps to boost your metabolism, because when we're lifting weights, we're tearing up muscle fibers, and so that tells the body that it needs to increase its energy demands so it can repair and rebuild these muscle tissues. So when you get on a lifting routine and you're lifting, several times a week, you're constantly like revving up the metabolism, telling your body, hey, we need more energy. We got to utilize this energy, rebuild these muscles and stuff. So it really sets you on a path of getting a higher metabolism, and then building muscle too is also great for weight loss, because you're moving around more mass. It helps to kind of burn more calories, not a ton, but it definitely helps versus having no muscle mass and more fat mass. So getting on a lifting routine, that was one of the main things I did, one of the first things I did to really kind of kickstart my permanent fat loss. The second thing I did was all about the diet. And now, shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's really all about the diet. It's all about nutrition and calories when it comes to weight loss. That is the most important thing. Exercise can help, it can assist, but the most important thing is gonna be calories, right? What you're putting into your body, how you're fueling yourself, right? So the biggest change that I made was going from, not as much processed food, junk food, and all this stuff. I was eating animal products at the time. I'm vegan now. But one of the biggest things I did was I started eating more nutrient-dense whole foods. So that's things like oatmeal. I started eating a shit ton of oatmeal, beans and lentils and like legumes, stuff like that. Whole grains, fruits, vegetables, a lot more nutrient-dense whole foods. The thing about nutrient-dense whole foods, why they're so great for weight loss, is because they're packed with nutrients. They have water content, they have fiber, which is important, and they really help to fill us up while having lower calories. Nutrient-dense foods have relatively lower calories compared to, processed calorie-dense foods. So when we eat more of these foods, we get full and our cravings are reduced and we're eating less calories without even really realizing it. So that makes weight loss so much easy, so effortless. And when I really transitioned my diet to eating, you hear some of the common terms like 70, 80% of your diet, whole unprocessed foods, and then the rest can be, some of the foods that you enjoy. So I started doing something similar to that. About 80 or so percent of my diet was whole nutrient-dense foods. And when I made that change, I really saw the scale just plummet. That was around the time when I got all the way down to that 148, when I was incorporating so many more, healthy whole foods in my diet. Saw the fat just drop, my weight on the scale just dropped, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'd never been eating so much food and had all this energy, I was working out and everything, yet I was losing weight like crazy, like just plummeted. And so that was a huge thing for me. And that really kind of reframed how I looked at food in terms of fueling yourself and proper nutrition and energy and all that stuff. So getting a lifting routine, working that in, and then having more nutrient-dense foods, those two things were huge for me in losing a ton of weight and then being able to keep it off. Having those things consistently in my routine. And then the third thing I'll say that also really helped to sort of solidify the progress that I had made was getting more daily steps in and movement. Walking is huge. It's popular now. Everyone's talking about steps and whatnot, and it's for good reason. Because when we walk, similar to lifting weights, right, we're moving our body more, so we're demanding that our body uses more energy, right? And so doing that day after day, just moving your body more, getting more steps in, you'll help to naturally increase the metabolism, which is, again, going to be great for weight loss. So those were the three main things that I did that helped me lose around 90 pounds, gain a little bit back, healthy weight, but helped me get basically control once and for all over my weight, which I never felt like I had before. Never really felt like I had actual control over my weight, and I was just destined for genetics or whatever. But when I finally started to make these changes, and I saw my body change, and I couldn't believe it. So lifting weights on top of just doing cardio is great, but lifting weights, eating more nutrient-dense whole foods, keeping it to about 80 or so percent of my calories for the week, and then walking more, getting in more steps. Now, when it comes to steps, you don't have to hit that 7 to 10,000 range, right? Not everybody has to hit that. Recommendations for steps, if you're very sedentary and you maybe only get a couple thousand steps or less per day, you could benefit from trying to aim for, an increase in steps in general is going to be a benefit. But I would say start off with trying to aim for at least 5,000 steps per day. If you can hit 5,000 steps per day, then you just slowly work your way up from there. If you're more like me on some days where you maybe only get 5,000 to 6,000 steps per day, try to bump that up to that 7,000 to 10,000 range. And again, that's gonna help to boost the metabolism. It's gonna help the weight come off much easier, and any weight loss that you do achieve, it's gonna help to maintain that weight loss. So hope that helped. Try those things out. If you're stuck like I was and you're trying to lose weight, you don't know what else to do, try those three things, right? Get a lifting program. And again, you check out my website. I have online coaching, an email list you can sign up for. I can help you out with that if you need it. Lifting weights, walking more, getting more steps in, and eating more nutrient-dense foods. I hope that was helpful. And again, check out my website, laynelsonfitness.com. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.